Okay, this video we're going to look at division of polynomials. In our last video we looked at the definition of a polynomial. Today we're going to look at dividing into polynomials. And I've got here a little definition. When a polynomial p of x is divided by another, which is d of x, you get q of x plus r of x over d of x. Definitions: p of x is a polynomial that you're dividing into. D of x is the thing that's been divided into the polynomial. It's called the divisor. Q of x is the result, which is the quotient. And r of x is the remainder. So for example, if you divide 11 by 3, 3 is the divisor. You get the answer, which is 3. That's the quotient. And you also get 2/3, which is the remainder, over the divisor. So the same sort of thing as with fractions occurs with polynomials. So there's some definitions. Okay, we're going to divide polynomials. I'm going to show you two methods. One method that's quite straightforward and very quick and very easy, but has limitations. And then another method which always works, regardless of the problem you're looking at. So we're going to start here with this problem. I'm going to do it two ways. We're going to divide x to the power of 4 minus 3x cubed plus 2x squared minus 8 by x plus 2. Because that's what we're going to do first up. Alright. So there it is. There's our question. And then first of all, I'm going to look at a method called synthetic division. Now in synthetic division, we're going to set up a line of coefficients across the top here, and I'll write them down and you may be able to see where they come from. So we've got 1, 3, sorry, neg 3, that is, 2, 0, and neg 8. Now, if you look at the numbers I've selected there, they are the coefficients of our polynomial there. Okay, they're the coefficients. 1x to the power of 4 minus 3x cubed plus 2x squared. Now where's the 0 come from? We have to account for all terms. Okay, there is no x term. So basically there's 0x. So we put a 0 in there to account for the x term missing, and we've got negative 8 there, which is the constant, the number out by itself there. So we put down the coefficients of the polynomial. Okay, the divisor is x plus 2. And what we do here, the opposite sign to the divisor, notice how it's x plus 2, we put the opposite sign down to the side here, so it's negative 2. Alright, so that's the grid that we set up, the coefficients of the polynomial, including any missing terms, and down the side, the opposite sign to the number that's been divided in there, the divisor. So it's x plus 2, so it's negative 2. Now, first of all, we bring down the 1. So we bring down, first of all, take that 1 straight down, and then we multiply negative 2 by 1. Negative 2 by 1 is negative 2. We then add the two numbers here. Negative 3 plus negative 2 is negative 5. Then we multiply again. So we're multiplying and multiplying. So negative 2 multiplied by negative 5 is 10. Then we add. 2 plus 10 is 12. So we're multiplying and adding right through this grid. Next one, negative 2 multiplied by 12 is negative 24. We add again. 0 plus negative 24 is negative 24. Multiply once again by negative 2, and we get negative 2 over here multiplied by negative 24 is positive 48. Okay, then we add again. Negative 8 plus 48 is going to be 40. So what's significant now is the grid along the bottom here. Okay, negative 1, negative 5, 12, negative 24, and 40. Okay, I might copy this grid over to the next slide, and we'll have a look in more detail now how the answer arises from what we've got. Okay, so I've still got all my scribblings here, as you'll see. But there's our grid. Now, straight away, the number on the right-hand side there, out by itself, is remainder 40. Now, if you get a 0 there, okay, that means that the term you divided in was a factor of the original polynomial, but we'll get to that in a little while. But for now, the remainder is 40. And if we work back the other way, we've got negative 24 there. Oops, negative 24. The 12 is the x term. Okay, the negative, that's a positive 12x. The negative 5 is the x squared term. And the 1 is the x cubed term. So the answer is 1x cubed minus 5x squared plus 12x minus 24. Remainder 40. Now, if you'd like to pause this video here and go back and just watch it again, okay, you get the general pattern. But it's bring down, first of all, you set up your grid with the coefficients here. Up the top, here's the coefficients. Oops, sorry, it's not coming out very well here. Here's the coefficients here. Okay, the number at the side is the opposite. So we're dividing by x plus 2, we put negative 2 there. If we're dividing by x minus 3, we put positive 3 there. Okay, then it's bring down, multiply, add, multiply, add, multiply, add all the way through the grid. And that's how you do what's called synthetic division. Let's repeat that name again. When dividing polynomials. Now I'll get back to a little bit later in this video the limitations a little bit of that synthetic method. But for now we're going to look at long division. Alright, we're now going to use a method called long division, which you may have used for dividing way back in primary school. And the same principles as you would have done before with a division process like long division work when you're dealing with polynomials. So let's set it up first of all. So we set it up like a division sum. So it's x plus 2 into, nice long line here, x to the power of 4 minus 3x cubed plus 2x squared minus 8. Okay, in fact, what I'm going to do, is same thing as I did before. We're going to account for the fact that there is no x term. Okay, so plus 0x minus 8. Nearly forgot to put that in. So accounting once again for all the different terms here. All right, now I'm going to need a lot of room here, so I'm actually going to copy this over to the next slide and make it a little bit bigger because this is going to take a little bit of time. So we'll copy this over to the next slide and give ourselves a lot more room. I'll make it a bit larger, like so, and that's done. So let's begin. Alright, so we start from the left hand side here and we're going to divide x into x to the power of 4. Okay, x into x to the power of 4. So you always start with the x term here and the first x term in the polynomial you're dividing into. So x into x to the power of 4 goes x to the power of 3 times. Okay, so there we go. Now we multiply through the x by multiplying the x cubed by the x plus 2. So here we go. X cubed times x is x to the power of 4. X cubed times 2 is plus 2x cubed. Okay, so there's our first step. Now what you'll always find now, or first of all, what we have to do is subtract from this point. And what we always find when we subtract is that we get the terms here, x to the power of 4, cancel out and become 0. Let's get rid of this extra line just here because it's sort of in the way. Alright. So, if we subtract now the two lines, we get x to the power of 4 minus x to the power of 4 is 0. Negative 3x cubed minus positive 2x cubed is going to be minus 5x cubed. So we subtract those terms, and what we do now is bring down the positive 2x squared. Now, the same way that we divided the x into the x to the power of 4 to start with, we now divide the x here into the x2, the negative 5x cubed, sorry. So we're now going to divide x plus 2, or the x part of the x plus 2 into the negative 5x cubed. So negative 5x cubed divided by x is negative 5x squared. Okay, let's just get that out of the way. Let's get rid of some of these extra things just so they don't clutter things up too much. Alright, so x into negative 5x cubed is negative 5x squared. Once we've done that, we multiply back through again. So negative 5x squared, there it is, multiplied by x is negative 5x cubed. Okay, so we've multiplied that by the x again. Negative 5x squared multiplied by 2 is negative 10x squared. Okay, now, as I've said before, when we get to the subtraction stage now, when we subtract those two there, negative 5x cubed take negative 5x cubed, that's negative 5x cubed plus 5x cubed, that is naught. So they basically cancel each other out there. And then the other two, 2x squared minus negative 10x squared is 2x squared plus 10x squared, because remember those two negatives make a plus, and we get 12x squared. Right there. Okay. Bring down the next term, which is the plus, which is the plus 0x. 0x comes down. Alright. Now, process for the third time. First up, we divided x into x to the power of 4. There. Then we divided x into negative 5x cubed. Now we're dividing x into 12x squared. So x into 12x squared is plus 12x. So we write that up there. Oops. 12x. And then we times back through again. So 12x multiplied by x is going to be 12x squared. Uh, 12x multiplied by the 2 is going to be plus 24x. So there we go. Now running out of room here, so what I'll do is we'll just subtract these two. 12x squared take 12x squared is 0. Now 0x minus positive 24x is negative 24x. One more number to bring down, and that's the negative 8. Okay, so what I might do now is copy this, copy this over to the next slide. Okay, so we've got to here. Now, first up we divided x into x to the power of 4. Then we divided x into negative 5x cubed down here. Okay. Then we divided x into the 12x squared. Now we're going to divide x. And why is it x? Because x is up here in our divisor. We're now going to divide x into negative 24x. X into negative 24x is negative 24. Now we multiply back through negative 24 by x plus 2. Negative 24 by x is negative 24x. Negative 24 times positive 2 is negative 48. Once again, draw a line and subtract. Negative 24x take negative 24x. That'll become a plus. That'll be 0 then. Negative 24x plus 24x, which is 0. Negative 8 take negative 48 is negative 8 plus 48 is 40. And that is our remainder. So the answer is up there where I'm putting this big tick now. X cubed minus 5x squared plus 12x take 24. Remainder 40. Now if that looks familiar, if I go back a couple of slides here till we did the synthetic division, exactly the same answer that we had back here. Alright, so two methods of doing it. Long division and also synthetic division. Now which method to use? Well, I suggest if you would divide, say, if you're dividing 2x cubed minus 4x squared minus 3x minus 8, if you're dividing that by x take 3, I would definitely use for that type of problem synthetic division. Much quicker, much easier, and the answer gets done in a minute or two, or even less. If I was going to divide 3x to the power of 4 minus 5x cubed plus 2x minus 16 by 2x minus 3, okay, in that case I would definitely use long division. What's the difference? See if you can see the difference. Well, the difference is that here the coefficient of the x is 1, here the coefficient of the x is 2. So I'd say as a general rule, if dividing where divisor has coefficient of x equals 1, synthetic division, okay, so x minus 3, x plus 4, x minus 2, anywhere x is by itself, it's coefficient of 1, and I'd say dividing where divisor has coefficient so let's go back a step there, has coefficient, best to say not equal to 1. Okay, so it could be -2, -3, negative or +2, +3, +4. I'd recommend in that case long division. What I'd like you to do now is exercise 1C, A, B and C. Try and do them both ways. Okay, I would say with all those three problems, you would best to use synthetic division, but I'd like you to practice both synthetic and long division with those three.